everyone, today let's talk about how you can improve your score for the NEET 2026 exam. I'm sure a lot of serious NEET aspirants would have already started to attempt full syllabus mock tests by now. And for a lot of kids, the score is either stuck between 250 and 300, or you're not able to get past 320 in the mock test, that is out of 360 in biology. What are the things that you need to follow in order to make your score better? So today I'm going to give you like a practical guide with the exact steps that you need to follow after each mock test so that you see an improvement in your score. Now, this is not like a group activity. This is not like a one formula fits everybody. This exercise is something that you will have to do for yourself individually after each mock test you take. Taking mock tests is a non-negotiable part of your preparation, but just attempting the test and looking at the score and going on to the next test is not going to help you in any way. After each test, you will have to sit and analyze where you're going wrong. You have to find out where the marks are leaking away so that you can fix those areas, right? See, mock tests are like practice matches that happen before actual matches. Even the top players of our country, top players of our world, after the practice matches, they sit down and they analyze their game. They find out where they went wrong. They find out about what area they can improve in. Unless they make those necessary improvements, unless they fine tune their performance, they will not be able to give their best shot on the actual day of the match, right? So, which is exactly what should happen with you too. After each mock test, you have to sit and analyze every single question and find out if you went wrong, what is the reason for you to go wrong and what can you do better and all of that, right? So today I'm going to help you with giving you an idea of how your paper analysis should be. So let's get started. Firstly, for every question that you're reading in the mock test, for every question that you're analyzing, especially for the questions that you attempted incorrectly or if you left it unattended, for those kind of questions, you have to find out the reasons. Take a notebook and write down question 1 to how many ever, and then next to that you have to write whether it is correct or incorrect. If it is correct, what is the reason? If it is incorrect, what is the reason? So the reason you are scoring less marks could be because you are getting a lot of negative marking, also because you're not too confident about your preparation. You have doubts and confusions in a lot of concepts, which is why you're not even attempting the question. So what is the reason for that? We will have to analyze. Firstly, it could be out of NCERT. If it's out of NCERT, don't worry too much about it. In NEET exam, it's not likely that a major portion of the paper will have questions outside of NCERT. Chances are there maybe 1 or 2 questions out of 90 can be out of syllabus, but you should not break your head about that because you don't know where that will come from. It could come from anywhere and you can't study everything outside the syllabus, right? So we will stick to the syllabus. We will play safe with those 88 questions that are in our hand, that will be from NCERT itself. If your mock test has a question outside the syllabus, don't worry too much about it. It's okay. Okay. Now, secondly, there could be a knowledge gap. You feel like you've understood a concept, but actually you haven't understood it very well. That is reflecting in the questions that are answered incorrectly. While you're reading the question while attempting the paper, you will feel like, oh, this is chill, this is easy, I know about it, and you answer and you end up getting it wrong. That means you haven't understood the concept well. So there you make a note of which concept that question is from, which topic it is from, and write down knowledge gap. That's the reason why you got it incorrectly. Next, most often this happens, misreading, especially the key terms like which one of the options are correct, which is incorrect. Find out the correct match, find out the mismatch. So whenever such questions are given to you, you tend to, in a hurry, in a rush, read it incorrectly. Now, this is sad because it's not like you don't know the concept, you've learned it, but in a rush, you did not read it properly. This usually happens when there is a time crunch, like towards the end of the paper, when you have like little time and a lot of questions, you tend to get anxious and read the questions very fast and you make mistakes while reading, because of which you can get questions answered incorrectly. So that's one of the reasons. Next, you could be guessing it. You're not very sure about the question. You are confused between 2 options and you're like, okay, let me take a guess, and you guessed it and you got it incorrectly answered. Okay. Overthinking. Because of overthinking, even if you know the question, you might be like, I'm not too sure about this, let me not answer this, and you might leave it unattempted, right? So you're not confident enough about your preparation. And time pressure check, the same thing that I mentioned, like especially happens towards the end of the paper when there is little time and when there is too many questions to solve, you tend to get anxious and not read it correctly. These are some of the reasons why children don't answer questions, leave it unattempted, or they will get questions answered incorrectly. Now, these reasons will be the same for everybody. But for some of you, the problem could majorly be because of reading the question incorrectly. For some of you, it could be because you don't know the concepts very well. So for each individual, it will vary. In a paper that has 90 questions in biology, you might leave 10 unattempted, right? And you might have like 5 or 6 questions that have negative marking. So among the questions that you have got incorrectly, what is the major reason for you to get incorrect answers is what you will have to figure out. Unless you know where the problem is, you will not be able to fix it. Unless you know where the tire is punctured, you'll not be able to fix it, right? So in order to seal out the leaking marks, you have to find out where exactly the leak is. And this is something that you can do by yourself. No teacher can come and do that for you. Nobody can do that for you. It's something that is on you to do it, right? So that's the first step. Analyze your mock test. And once you have an idea of where you're going wrong, you know what action to take, right? So if there is a concept mistake, if there is a knowledge gap, you haven't understood that particular concept, you have to revise it, okay? Then if there is if it is a line directly from NCERT, but you seem to have skipped it, it has slipped your mind, you don't remember it at that time, you have to read NCERT more number of times. If it is a guessing mistake, then please, if your guesses are not landing, if like your guessing accuracy is less than like 50% or something, then I think you should stop guessing. Don't play with the guessing questions, and unless you know the answer perfectly well, don't attempt it, okay? Next, if time is issue, change your strategy. If you're doing biology first and then saving physics for later, for most NEET aspirants, physics is a difficult subject, and if you have too many questions of physics towards the end, then that might cause a lot of panic towards the end. So you play around with your strategy and figure out what works for you. And also improve your reading speed. Okay, the more and more questions you answer, the more and more questions you read, you will learn to read faster. But while you learn to read faster, you have to also make sure that you read correctly without making any mistakes. Okay, so that's the reason why we take mock tests, right? You're sitting there for 3 hours, and then you are with your paper, you're not getting outside, and then you're reading all of these questions multiple times. So that will give you a habit of reading correctly and quickly so that you can uh, prevent all of those kind of errors, right? So if you just take mock tests without analyzing it, it's as good as not taking a mock test. It's useless. Okay, so make sure that you analyze your mock test results. Next, what is your personal weak area list you will have to create? For some students, photosynthesis and plant physiology might be very easy. For some students, morphology unit might be very easy. It differs from student to student. When you're doing a analysis of which questions you are not answering correctly, where all are the knowledge gaps, which all concepts you weaken, you will get an idea that, okay, if there's a question from this chapter, then I'm not good with it. If there's a question from this particular topic in ecology, then I don't think I know it very well. So if you're doing that consistently for many mock tests, after each mock test, you'll get an idea of which are your weak areas. For somebody, it could be photosynthesis. For some of you, it could be molecular basis. For some of you, it could be like structural organization unit. Whatever is your weak area list, that is something that you will have to figure out by yourself. So you make a list of which all concepts you are finding difficult. Okay, so that is our next step. And step 4, go back to NCERT for those concepts. When I say you're getting a question incorrectly every time there is a photosynthesis question, I don't mean to say you have to go and read the entire photosynthesis chapter from the beginning to the end, starting from the early experiments till the factors affecting. It's possible that you remember the early experiment part well. It's possible that you haven't understood C4 pathway very well, right? So whichever specific topic in photosynthesis you have a confusion with, you have to go and read that alone. Because again, if you're going back to reading photosynthesis entirely, that will consume too much time. And it's not like at this point you don't know the chapter, right? You know photosynthesis, you know it to an extent, but there are certain specific concepts in this chapter that you're struggling with. Whatever is that struggle, once you identify that, you focus specifically on that. For example, if you're struggling with C4 pathway, you read C4 pathway, try and comprehend that, and try and attempt questions related to C4 pathway alone and see where you stand. Okay, so that's the next step that we will have to do. So go back to NCERT, whichever lines are related to the questions you attempted, I mean, answered incorrectly, go back and read that. If it's a table comparison, go back to that. Whatever is the struggle that you are dealing with, whatever is the concept that is, bringing your score down, that is exactly what you will have to go and work on. You don't have to do the full chapter again. Now is not the time to do it. Okay? Now, whatever revision happens at this phase of your preparation should be through questions. It's not the time to learn everything using a one-shot video from the beginning to the end. That time is over. Right now, the time is for you to practice more and more questions, then revise by means of practicing questions. Right? Now, so then after you've read that, like I mentioned, go and attempt the questions related to those concepts alone again. Like I told you, if C4 pathway is what is problematic, then go and attempt questions related to C4 pathway alone. Okay, so if you're still getting those questions wrong in C4 pathway, that means it is confirmed that you are not able to comprehend that. Maybe then you can go and watch a lecture, that portion where C4 pathway is explained, so that you can comprehend that better. Okay, now the last step, you have to track progress. In your first test, your score was 262 out of 360 in biology. You made a total of these many mistakes. What is your target? Reduce silly mistakes. The mistakes, most of the questions may have been wrong because you didn't read the question properly, or because you read it too quickly, you misunderstood the question, whatever the reason is. So you will write down what is the action that you will have to take. Then next, second test, you made necessary fine tuning here, you corrected that a little bit, you can see an improvement. Again, in this paper, what went wrong? Fewer questions were answered incorrectly. What was the issue there? How do you fix that? Write that down. Fix that, take the next mock test, and you'll have to do this multiple times so that your score continues to get better and better after each mock test. So that's what I had to say to you today. And I hope you will all implement this after your mock test. It might feel like a very lazy or a very boring exercise to do. But if you do not do this, taking a mock test is definitely a waste of your time. So I suggest you all, even though it might seem like a boring task, just do it. Just do it, not for bio alone, for all the subjects that you're taking. And that will make your preparation much better. Instead of taking like 20 mock tests, even if you take 10 mock tests and analyze all of those 10 mock tests and get better with each mock test, that is still better than taking 20 mock tests randomly and not analyzing them at all. So I hope this advice and these tips were helpful. If you need anything else, let me know in the chat. So I'll see you again in the next video. All the very best. Do not waste time. Time is ticking. It's not going to wait for anybody. Every second, every moment is important. So go and utilize the time wisely. So all the very best. I'll see you very soon. Thank you.